Hello and welcome to Proper Studenting 101. So this is in no way a catch-all for every instructor that ever existed and will ever exist, but these are some little tips and tricks that I can give you, the student, to stand out amongst your fellow students in a positive way to your instructor. What this PowerPoint will cover is going to be how to write an email properly that is going to be sent to your instructor, as well as a few little tips and tricks on email etiquette. The next thing is going to be time management, as well as deadlines. These things both go really hand in hand. I'm going to discuss how to kind of make sure that you stay on time and how to meet your deadlines, as well as what to do if you don't. A few things that I've noticed students have problems with is when it comes to a concern over their grade, whether it's been posted or not. So this section will cover what to do and how to talk to your instructor about concerns with your grade. The next section kind of ties into that last one, whether or not you should take an incomplete and if you should or shouldn't withdraw from a class. The next section is relatively doesn't fit into other places, but it is do's and don'ts that you should keep in mind as a student. And then the last topic is not class related, but student related. So writing a professional email, when it comes to talking to your instructor, you want to be formal. So you want to keep with that professional tone. You want your emails to look and sound as professional as possible. Do keep in mind that as nice as your teachers can be, they are not your friends. They are not your family, unless maybe they are, who knows. But regardless, you want to sound very professional. You want to make your emails as concise as possible and clear. And this is probably the biggest thing that you want to do: proofread before hitting send. If you have a spelling error or a notation error or anything like that, you want to check that and fix it before you send it, because I guarantee your teacher is going to be reading that and thinking, I wish they would have proofread this. So here is an example of an email that a student could be sending to an instructor. First, you want to make sure that your subject title states the course, as well as a summary of what you need. Now, it doesn't have to be crazy in depth. You could have even put that it just has to do with homework. But make sure that your subject is going to include something having to do with what you are asking the instructor to help you with. Next, you want to make sure that you email your instructor's school email. Don't try to send them a message through, in this case, it could be like a message through Blackboard. Blackboard is a fantastic program, but if you message your teacher through Blackboard, it's really hard for us to respond. Or if you use World Classroom or Canvas or any of those other programs that other schools may have, again, they are fantastic programs when it comes to grading things, but they're a little bit more finicky when it comes to contacting your instructor. So always email your teacher. It's much easier to contact them, unless of course they do specify that they want you to use a different system. But you do want to send this email from your school email as well. So you don't want to send it from, let's say, a personal email like Penguin Baby at msn.com or something like that. So you want to make sure that it is going to a professional email as well as coming from a professional email. When addressing your email, you want to be relatively formal. Of course, if you're on more of a first name basis, if your instructor has stated that they don't mind that, that's always fine to go with. But a safe bet is to include some type of greeting such as hello. You could even maybe say hi. I would never say hey to an instructor, but be professional. especially if you're asking them for a favor. If you need something from them, I wouldn't say like, "Sup, Sullivan," or something like that. That's probably not the most professional thing. If you know that a professor has a PhD, that they went to school and got a PhD, it is not wrong to use doctor, but if you are unsure of their credentials, then you can use things such as honorifics that you know might be applicable. And on the right of the screen, you can see those honorifics. So if you don't know those various things, that's a good thing to take note of. I've had many students call me Mrs. I'm not married, and I try to make a point to like tell my students, you can just call me professor. It's a pretty safe bet as well to just call your instructor professor and then their last name. It is still very respectful, as well as if you don't know what their honorific that they want to be called is, it's a good safe bet. Next is to state your name, because if your instructor, like me, has quite a few students and maybe quite a few classes, on average, I'll teach about 4 classes a semester. And that is 4 classes of roughly 25 students. So that's a lot of names and a lot of days and a lot of assignments that I need to know that I don't always know immediately when a student messages me. So you want to state all of these things: your name, your class. If it's a class that has different sections, you may want to include the section and also the day that you meet. Again, you're going to majorly help your instructor remember who you are and what it is you need help with a lot easier if you include all this information. If you're asking about a specific question when it comes to homework, you want to be very specific about how you phrase it. So for example, here we have number 4 from homework assignment from Lab 7 on page 34, and then whatever inquiry you might have about that specific homework. And you do want to be specific about what it is you're asking. So don't say something along the lines of, "Well, I just don't get it." I don't know what you don't get. You have to be specific. Maybe say something along the lines of, "I'm not sure what it is you're looking for in this answer. This is what I have. Could you double check it?" That is such a fantastic way to show the instructor that you care about what they've assigned, essentially, that you're not just trying to get a free answer. Show them that you put in the work, you put in the thought, and you just want clarification. And then last but not least, you want to professionally and politely sign your email. So thanking your instructor for their time in reading and responding to your email is always good. You can also say like, "Have a good weekend," or "Sincerely," or "Best," or whatever you want to put, but be professional when signing your email. This is a good rule of thumb for any professional email, of course. But yeah, that's how I would write an email if I were a student, and it's still how I write emails to students, to other instructors, to peers, anybody really. You want to be nice and professional, at least for this first email. So, with that in mind, after you hit send, how long should you wait for a response? And I cannot express this enough. Every instructor is different, and this is inclusive for everything in this PowerPoint. But here are a few good rules of thumb. When it comes to sending an email on a weekday, so Monday to Friday, it might typically take about a day, and I'm gonna kind of rectify that. Monday to Thursday. Fridays are kind of hit or miss. It just sort of depends on your instructor's schedule. For weekends, if you send an email on Friday or Saturday, like I said, don't expect a response until Monday at the earliest. There may be instructors that do respond on the weekends, but in my personal experience, that's few and far between. When it comes to holidays or long weekends, it's very likely your instructor will not be somewhere where they can check their emails very regularly, as well as being able to respond. I get a lot of my emails from my school email forwarded to my personal email, but I can't respond to them right away. Normally, I need to be at a computer where I can access those emails better. And then how should you respond to your instructor's response? Follow-up emails can be less formal than the first, but you should still stay pretty courteous, so meaning polite or formal, but obviously you don't need to put all of that detailed information into that next email after your instructor responds. Time management. So college is a great way to learn time management, especially if maybe through high school that wasn't necessarily a priority, but college is a big one where you are going to need to be able to manage everything going on in your life. That might include an external job, various classes, maybe you have other things going on in your life, taking care of siblings or children, or maybe parents or grandparents or things like that. So one of the things I like to kind of push for my students is this phrase that I got from a little cousin many, many years ago is choices. Life is all about choices. You need to choose what's going to be priorities in your life. Obviously, if you're a parent, you need to prioritize your children, but if you're also going to school, you need to find a good balance. So if that means choosing to stay home with your kiddos, and study versus going out with friends to go, I don't know, to a bar or maybe to a show or something like that, you have to be able to make those choices that are going to be for the betterment of you. That is also going to include taking care of yourself emotionally, physically, and mentally. If going out to a bar for the first time in like 2 months is going to help you emotionally and mentally, do it. You know, you can take a night off. Don't feel like you can't go have fun. But you need to do things in moderation and prioritize those things such as assignments or readings, as well as your own personal responsibilities. Big thing. Get it done early, turn it in early. If you have an assignment that you know the due date of, you should try to get it done as quickly as possible so that you can get it turned in before the due date. Try really, really hard not to wait until the minute it's due in order to turn it in. Something could happen and you might not get it in when it's supposed to get in, and then you have a late assignment. Or if your instructor, like a few that I know, they don't take late assignments, that's going to be even worse. So then you have a 0 for that assignment and there's nothing that can really be done about it. Make sure that you have time to study. For any class that I've ever been in, you have to study at least a little bit, unless maybe it's a class where you just need to put in the time to make projects. You need to have some time to study for the material. And obviously studying isn't the most fun, but it's not supposed to be. But you'll be really happy that you put in the time when it comes to the test. And this includes online tests. Just because you can have your notes in front of you doesn't mean you know what's in the notes. And for the most part, online tests are going to be timed. So if you only have about an hour to answer, let's say 100 questions, and you don't know what's in the notes, you're not going to be able to flip through those notes, find the answer the question, and get everything turned in on time. When it comes to studying, great ways that I have found to study is to put away all distractions. I realize that if you're a parent, this is probably going to be a little bit more difficult as you can't just put away the kids, but if you can try to find a time maybe after bedtime to start studying so that there's less of a distraction, that's going to be just absolutely wonderful for you later on. Studies have shown that music is fine to listen to when studying, but you shouldn't have music with lyrics, and you should try to limit the amount of disruptions. The more disruptions you have while you study, the less you're going to be able to retain. So one of the things I like to listen to that keeps me very focused is rain noises or forest sounds. It's relaxing. It also is the perfect like white noise, background noise that it doesn't have to be silent, but it definitely doesn't take away my focus. Meeting deadlines is one of the things I've noticed students struggle with probably the most when it comes to college. It's important in almost any professional field. It doesn't really matter what you go into, meeting deadlines is going to be something that you're going to have to do throughout your life. And that includes personal life too. So think about having to meet deadlines for your taxes, meeting deadlines for bills, meeting deadlines. You could even count like going to a dinner. You know, you need to be on time for these various things. In this day and age, there's little to no excuse not to put deadlines into your phone or a date book or a calendar or whatever you use. The phone, nowadays, smartphones, are one of the most useful tools that you can have in order to make sure that you meet deadlines. Use Google Calendar or something like that that's going to remind you before something's due to get it done. So let's say, hypothetically, you didn't make that deadline and you want to ask for an extension. First and foremost, it never hurts to ask, but your instructor is not obligated to allow an extension for you. So you do have to keep that in mind. Just because you ask doesn't mean that the instructor is going to do it. Big thing, do not ask the day that something is due for an extension. This means that you waited until the last minute and you didn't manage your time properly. This is mildly disrespectful to your instructor, especially if they told you the deadline well in advance. Instructors are very understanding to extenuating circumstances, so be as honest as you can and also as open as you feel comfortable being with your instructor. If you have an emergency with whatever it may be, instructors are usually pretty understanding. So just be honest, don't lie to your teachers. It will always come back to bite you. I've had students who have lied to me in the past, and the thing is they forget that we have Facebook groups that I become a part of with some of my students, and I can see that you chose to go to something else instead of working on a project. So don't lie to your teacher. That's just the bottom line. Once a due date has been posted, or if you have access to when your assignments are due, maybe in a class schedule or maybe in the syllabus, who knows, whatever it might be that has that information, you should immediately start kind of making plans to get things done well before the due date. This is going to ensure that if something goes wrong, maybe one of those extenuating circumstances, or even something really unexpected, like your computer suddenly just dies and you cannot get it to come back up, then that means that you have plenty of time to remedy whatever that problem was with your instructor. So, when should you start worrying about your grade? I always like to compare a semester to flying a plane. Even if you've never flown a plane, I'm sure you can kind of understand this little metaphor here. So the first term, so this is going to be that first quarter of your semester. It's going to be like getting the plane, getting on the plane, and kind of situated and comfortable in your seat. You're kind of getting used to the controls and your surroundings. So this is like getting used to the flow of the course. The second term, so the second quarter, we're going to have started the engines, we've started moving, you've maybe gotten a few assignments, maybe a quiz, maybe an exam. You're getting a feel for how things are going. At midterms, so directly in the middle of the semester, you should be assessing how everything's feeling. Is the semester going kind of smooth? Is it rough? Getting kind of bumpy? How are you feeling with that initial half of the semester? If you're starting to feel uneasy, you're not really sure what you should be doing, it doesn't feel right, everything's kind of going wrong, that is the time to talk to your instructor. Very, very important. Midterms is the perfect time to address your grade to your instructor. By the third term, you should be kind of picking up speed, essentially, with that little plane analogy, and ensuring that everything's going according to plan while getting ready to take off. Now, at this point, if you're not feeling good in the course, you still have enough time to pull up, if you will. By the fourth term, it's too late. You are not going to have enough time to get your grades up if they are tanking. That is not enough time at all. Do not spend that last term asking your instructor what you can do better. Midterms and potentially around that third term is when you should be asking that question to your instructor. That might even be the time to ask if there's any extra credit you might be able to partake in, or what better ways to study for their exams might be, if there's any extra work, that kind of thing. Do not wait until the fourth term to ask your teacher for help. That is too late. There is nothing that they can do. There's probably very little that you can do, especially if your grades are not doing well. So, more having to do with grades. If at the end of the semester you're going to be absolutely distraught that you earned a 90 and you feel like you must have a 95 in order to go from an A minus to an A or an A plus, make sure you do every little bit of work that you can. So this includes extra credit, applying yourself with your projects. Once grades have gone in, it's pretty much done. You can't really do much else once your instructor has put in final grades. That is entirely too late to ask for extra credit. One of the things that I've noticed as an instructor is it's not my responsibility to do the work for you. You need to earn the grade. And for the most part, I've seen a lot of instructors really try to encourage students to do the best that they can. I haven't really seen many instructors who say otherwise, but you're responsible for you. Your instructor is not responsible for your grade. If you feel like something came out unfairly, that is perfectly fine to go to your instructor and say, I think you made a mistake. But again, you should be respectful and courteous, because yes, teachers do make mistakes, but you should probably be very nice about it. I know as an instructor, I've admitted when I've made mistakes, but it doesn't feel good, of course, to admit that you've made a mistake. But I'm always very willing to look at the mistake that I've made and give points back to students who deserve them. And then just to kind of make sure that everyone knows sort of like a grade schematic, typically, you've got this breakdown here where you get an A, B, C, D, or F. And then of course that can be broken down even further if your school goes by A pluses, B pluses, C's, C minuses, etc., etc. So that's kind of how that breaks down if you've never seen it before. When should you take an incomplete? Well, first and foremost, you should check with your school's academic calendar and find out when the withdrawal dates are ended. So when is it due to withdraw from a class? And just because you withdraw or take an incomplete from the class does not mean you're not going to have to pay for the tuition of the course. So that should take a very large amount of decision into whether or not you should complete the course. If you're not going to get the grade that you want, you should maybe consider taking an incomplete. If it's a grade that you can accept but you wish you would have done better, I would take the grade. If your GPA is particularly on the line when it comes to the grade that you may be earning, it's important to take that into consideration as well. So things that you can do to kind of double check where you are, calculating your percentage and what you need to get the grade that you want. If your grades are posted online, such as through Blackboard or World Classroom or anything like that, please, please, please do not ask your instructor to figure out your grade or what you need to get on whatever exam to pass the class. It is a very popular question to ask your instructor. Don't have them do it for you. You can figure it out yourself. So this is the formula for how to figure out what your percentage is. So it's the number of points that you have divided by the number of points possible and multiply that by 100. That's going to give you your percentage. Use that equation as much or as little as you want, but you can use that for just about anything to figure out the percentage of something. And then just this little getting on my soapbox here. Don't give up unless you feel you have to. College is hard. If it was easy, then everybody would do it. But at the same time, you don't want to push yourself past your limit. If you've got a lot of things going on and this is just not the semester, you know, this is the 2020 of semesters, right? Just do what you need to do to be the best you. You know, you've got this. So a few do's and don'ts that don't fit into any of the other things that I was talking about. A few do's that are really, really important. Read the syllabus. Chances are everything you need to know about the class is probably in the syllabus. I would always suggest doing this is check the syllabus before emailing an instructor, such as for due dates. This is also something you should check is emails. Make sure that all of the postings that your instructor has put out is not something that can already be answered, right? So if you're wondering when is assignment number 9 due, chances are your instructor maybe said it in person, said it in an email, maybe it's in the school or in the course schedule. Double check that it's not somewhere else before emailing your teacher. The next, be respectful. This is not going to just apply to your instructor. Be respectful to your classmates, as well as other faculty and staff. If you say or do something rude, chances are it's going to get back to that person. Oddly enough, instructors are relatively close-knit with each other, so if you say something mean about one teacher to another, it might get back to that first teacher. I would just make sure that be as nice as possible, and if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. You should get to know your classmates. This is kind of a fun one. They can help you get through a course. So exchanging phone numbers or emails, this is a way to double check that, you know, maybe the instructor posted a due date or something in class. By checking with a classmate, you're going to ensure that you know that due date. But that's just me. I always liked getting to know my classmates. Some of them became really close friends. A few don'ts. Don't be rude or demanding, especially of your instructor. Demanding that your instructor open a quiz, exam, or homework online after a due date, it's not going to get you anywhere with them. In fact, I know a lot of instructors who, as soon as a student says, you need to open this for me, yeah, I'm just going to kind of ignore your email for a while, and I'll respond to you when I feel like it. I'm your instructor. You should treat me respectfully and not demand things of me. If you ask, and very nicely, I'm more likely to do it. So there's that whole catching more flies with honey than with vinegar. Just be kind, be nice, be understanding of your teachers being human. Don't wait till the last minute on things, and I know that this is kind of with time management as well, but it's really so very important. And then again, this is also something that we've kind of already talked about, but don't ask the instructor for due dates before checking your email, the syllabus, or schedule. And that's if the instructor, of course, provides one. And also check online assignment folders. If it is something that needs to be turned in online, chances are the due date's going to be said on the assignment. So just double check before messaging your instructor something that you can answer yourself. So not class related, but still very important. Meeting people and making friends and connections, they could last a lifetime. These are a few of my friends I've made in undergrad as well as in grad school. They are still some of my absolute best friends, and I can't imagine life without them. Within reason, go out and make memories. College is all about experiencing new things and learning new things, whether that's in class or about yourself. So make sure to have some fun, within reason, of course. Another important thing is going to be getting rest, some TLC as well, so tender loving care. You want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself while still getting the things done that you need to get done. Of course, everyone needs sleep, so make sure you're giving yourself enough time to sleep while also still getting things done. This is a very important thing, and a lot of people kind of neglect to talk about it, but it's okay to walk away and come back to something. If you are getting incredibly frustrated with a project or with an assignment, with whatever it may be, it's okay to walk away and come back to it. I really like this phrase. Sometimes things get hard, and it's okay to not be okay. Sometimes you want to quit, and sometimes you lose sight of things, whether that's the things that make you happy, the things that are important to you. Just make sure that you take care of yourself. Again, it's okay to not be okay. Just acknowledge that and maybe seek ways to get better. So most campuses offer counseling if you become overwhelmed. Do not see it as a loss or that it's something that you should be ashamed of. It is incredibly important to make sure that you are taking care of yourself mentally and emotionally. School's hard, and right now, as the world is, it's only getting harder. So just make sure you're taking care of yourself, you're loving yourself, and you're enjoying life. Few things to remember as a little final note here. Your instructor cares about you, and this is even doubly so for me. I adore my students, and I always remember what one of my teachers said to me. I think it was probably my sophomore year in undergrad, was once my student, always my student. And I ended up working with him at one of the schools that I worked at, and he became my peer. And the first day that I came into work at that school, he said, "You know, you're still my student, right?" Even though I was his peer at that time, and it'd probably been about 8 years since I've seen him. It was an amazing feeling. So just remember that I care about you. Your instructors care about you, and we want what's best for you. But you need to talk to us. Tell us what's going on in your life, and if you need help with anything. We're always here for you. You just have to let us know. And then kind of last but not least, we can't do the work for you, but we can work with you. And don't forget that. If you are struggling, if you need assistance with the material, you just have to ask. We can't do the work for you, but we can help you get through it. And last but not least, good luck. You've got this. You're gonna do great. And if you need any encouragement to know that you're going to make it through this, just message me. I'll let you know that you can do it. Good luck.